what we need to do is make a dividing line that will allow the mold to come off into pieces. If you imagine if we made a hard shell over this entire piece, we wouldn't be able to pull the piece out. It would get stuck inside its own undercuts. So what we do is we divide it in half. This is going to be a two-piece mold. You can divide a mold into many pieces, but this will work as a two-piece mold. What we'll do is we'll build a clay wall that goes down the halfway point of his body, all the way down to the base. And we'll build it out of clay, and into that clay we'll make some registration marks that will allow this side of the rubber to attach to this side of the rubber. And you'll see that a little bit more clearly once we get further along.
This is Jasmine, by the way.
Hi!
Hi, she's our mold maker. So that's what you're going to be using for the shims?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the tricky part, the hands. And so she's going to squish clay up into the fingers to form one side. She's smoothing down the edges and making sure there's no air holes so the rubber won't fill in the wrong places.
And to make a nice clean connection for both sides of the mold.
The front of the hands and how that'll be. And so Jasmine, you were saying?
So the front of the hands will be on the front of the mold, and then we're going to take the clay out, and then this back of the hand will be on the back of the mold when you take it apart. And then when you put it back together, you'll have the whole hand again. I'm just going to go right along here. So if I went over here, then there'd be like a little bit of an undercut going that way.
Right, and the mold wouldn't pull off.
Right. So this one it wouldn't be so bad, but sometimes it can be too deep of an undercut. So I'm taking this piece and I'm wedging it back here just to keep it steady.
Oh, yes. I was wondering how you were going to do that, because otherwise it'd be very floppy.
Yeah. With wood, it's nice because you can actually put some pressure on it.
Oh,
With clay, you have to be a lot more careful with the piece.
right.
So I'm going to fill these holes in now. And once again, I want to go from the back so I can easily pull it out
Oh,
on the
okay.
other side.
Yeah. Gee, I cut it twice and it's still too short.
Maybe I should cut it again.
Okay, so we're up to doing the, what's called registration. Jasmine, go for it.
So I'm going to dig a trench along the whole thing out of clay, so when we put the rubber on it, it will make like a little bump. And then on the other side, it will go in, and when you put it together, it's like a puzzle, and it connects. So the parting line is where it should be.
Yes. That really assures a clean registration then.
Really locks it in. I'm going to smooth the registration marks out.
And why?
When you put the mold back together, you don't want any of these pieces sticking out because it's gonna be really hard to connect that tiny little piece of rubber into the hole on the other side. So you want it to be all nice and smooth.
Uh-huh.
You don't want any undercuts in the
registration line?
Yeah, because then you won't be able to get the
The molded, yeah. Mm. Okay, so what's the next part of this?
The next part is I'm going to seal the edge up to make it a nice, smooth, clean connection, and also to keep the rubber from flowing onto the other side of the sculpture.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes I make little things like this. You just stuff it in a little hole.
Uh-huh. So you're sticking it down to the wood pretty firmly.
I'm just making a nice, clean.
Nice clean edge.
Because the less of a parting line you have, the less work it is up in the wax room.
Uh-huh.
And then you don't lose as much detail of the sculpture.